Hi. Today I'm going to work on a 2011 Mercedes C300, and I'm replacing the water pump, the thermostat, and the serpentine belt. The engine on this is a 272, and this is a W2O4 model Mercedes. So now I've taken the water pump out, which goes in here, and I've taken out the thermostat, which goes in here. The instructions for taking out the water pump are actually well documented on a website by a company called Pelican parts. They're in Los Angeles, and they show you quite nicely how to take out the water pump, and they also give you a good diagram to go step by step. Having said that, though, there's one thing that they don't say, and it is this bottom bolt that is right here. And that bolt is a very, very difficult bolt to come out, because as you can see, as you move it through here, straight out, you're going to run into this crankshaft pulley. And if you're using a E10 Torx type socket, you'll see that it's not going to fit there. So what you have to do is you have to get either a extended E10 Torx, or what I did is I used a 5/16 1/4" socket with an extension on a ratchet drive. That way you can get at it and take it out, but you'll not be able to do it with a Torx 10 or 12. In any event, you'll never be able to get it out with any of these types of Torx heads. It was very difficult, that part, until I figured out that I could do it with the 5/16. And it's hard to find the Torx extended, just the E10. So you can cheat. It's not a high torque bolt. You can start it with the E10 socket and bring it out about a 1/4", and then you can just take over with your 5/16. So then, before we did this, taking off the water pump, of course, we took off the serpentine belt. The serpentine belt, taking it off is extremely easy. You have this tensioner here, 17mm bolt here, and you just crank it counterclockwise. It brings this over, and the belt just comes right off. So it's just a no-brainer. The only problem, of course, is when you go to put it back on, you have to follow the direction of the belt, and there are a few websites that actually show you specifically, in fact, the one that I referenced before, about putting the serpentine back on and the routing that it takes. It is quite an amazing route that it does take. It goes back and forth quite a bit. But anyways, again, that's Pelican parts, and they do a good job of exactly describing how that should be done. So the next thing that you do, if you're doing a thermostat, I am doing it because my water pump was really, the bearing really failed on it. And I figured that probably there was some other debris going on in the water jacket, and so I decided to do it. It's actually best to do it at the same time as this water pump, because the water pump itself is here, and then there's an air generator that sits here, and it really gets in the way. And if you can take those off, it will make it much easier. So I'll just show you that when you take the water pump off, what you do is you have to catalog these bolts, and I've numbered them, and you just keep track of them. You have to keep track of them because they are different lengths. They have different head size, so you've got 12 bolts in total. Don't include these. And then you have these, and these are E12 Torx. So if you keep track of it, and it's easy to do, I just used the new gasket and made a template out of it. And then you can be sure that you're gonna keep it. One thing that I want to mention is that this is a Canadian car, and if you look at other videos concerning this water pump, you'll see that there's just a hose that connects to the bottom of the water pump. But this has a unusual little feature here for our southern neighbors, probably, except for maybe in the Michigan area. They have this unit. It actually bolts on. There's two Torx bolts again, and they're a T-bolt, and they attach. Very easy to get at. But what this is actually a block heater. So you can take this black nut off, and it exposes two prongs. And then what you do is you buy the electrical cord, and you screw it onto here instead of this black nut. And then you plug it in, and there's a heating coil. You can see that thing bulging out. That's your heating coil, and that heats it. And that's why it's different than most of the other videos that you'll see, because most of those videos are done in the southern half of the United States, so they don't have that. So other than that, it's what I hate to say straightforward. There are a few little glitches that I have discovered. For example, taking the hose off the old thermostat, which I'm showing you the new one here, is very, very difficult to pull it out. And you say, well, why is that so difficult? It does have a bit of corrosion on the inside, a little bit. What I do is I spray W2O4 on it, leave it in there for about 15-20 minutes, and it'll come out quite easily. So that's always I consider that a good tip. I haven't replaced the rubber grommets that go around here. They look like they're in good shape. I'm taking a bit of a risk. I'll let you know if that works. In any event, I'm going to put this back together again. Like I said, I've got the thermostat here and the water pump here. These are not OEM parts. They are, or OE parts. The water pump, I bought this. It's Italian made, and it's called Solari, S-I-L. Seems quite good. I know that the gasket came well packed. It's a metal gasket, and the thermostat is also an OEM part, and this one is made in Israel, and I'm gonna think that it's well built as well. So none of this is made in China, including the serpentine belt that I said I was gonna repair or to replace, and that belt is actually made in Germany by Continental. And the belt that was on the car, in this car, the original belt, the car was built in Germany, and the original belt was actually made in Spain. So there you can see it, there's Continental. So they are better priced, there's no question. The belt's a half price as opposed to Mercedes. The water pump is $100. I bought it from Lordco, and that includes the gasket, by the way. And the thermostat is $120, including the gasket. Normally, if that's a Mercedes part, the thermostat would be $320, not including tax, and the water pump would be $465, not including tax. And the belt would be $100 versus $50. So I'm going to put it together and then I'll show you the final results and let you know how it goes. Okay, I'm now finished with the entire project. I just finished attaching the trays on the bottom. There's 3 main trays. The front one goes on first, and then the rear one goes on next, and then the middle one goes on top of the rear and the front trays. And one thing that I wanted to mention when I was doing this was draining the radiator. The radiator drain is available to you when you take the front tray off, and then on the left side, meaning the side as viewed from the driver, go down here and you'll look at it, and it's a very small valve, and it has a small spigot that comes down, and it's aligned up and down. And the way to just handle that is use a pair of pliers and then turn it counterclockwise 180 degrees so it points down. It pulls itself out at about the 90-degree angle, and there's a bit of resistance, but you can go past that resistance and then it'll pull itself out, and then the water will flow out. And other than that, just putting the water pump bolts back on, you really have to keep track. I got it out here. What I did was I kept the old gasket, and then I would just align it and follow it on the water pump. And the water pump does hide some of the holes for the bolts, so that's why I really followed this meticulously. I also did buy new O-rings because I looked at them closely and I decided that it would be safer to get new O-rings, so that's a bit of a change there, and probably a smart thing. Right now I started it up and ran it and up to temperature, and no leaks, so that's good. Just another thing, these are the sockets that primarily that you use is the 10s and 12s. There is a 14 involved. Of course, there's a socket for the actual belt tensioner, which is a 17 millimeter socket. And then this again is the cheater that I had, and I just wanted to compare it to you for you. This is the 10 millimeter to get the bolt out. I was talking about that difficult one at the very bottom of the water pump. That was very hard to get out because of the narrow gap between the crankshaft pulley. And this is how fat it is, and that's why you can't just use that kind of a socket, the torque socket. But this, as you can see, is much narrower, and that's why it worked. It is a cheater. It's a 5/16, and it can take the torque also. So that's it. Thank you.